Hello coders, and welcome back to my channel. In this video we'll be discussing three things. The first one is what is Angular framework. The second is what are the core features of Angular framework, and lastly we'll be discussing what are development features of Angular. Without wasting much of our time, let's get started with it. What is Angular? Angular is a framework. Angular is a front-end framework maintained by Google that is designed for building dynamic single-page web application. So what are single-page web application? Traditionally, web applications are built with multi-pages. So what, for example, if you have a page, an index page, if you have an about page, if you have a contact page, so whenever there is an interaction from the client, a new page is going to be loaded. So for example, if you click on an about us from an index page, it will load a different page, and this page is going to be the about us page from the server. So if you click on contact page from the about page, it is also going to load that page from the server. So that's the traditional way of web application, which is based on multi pages. But with single page application, a single web page is loaded from the server and rendered on the client side. So everything else is being handled on the client side. Is client side routing, which creates the sense of moving from one page to other. Everything in between is being handled, and dynamically the content of that page, of that single HTML page, will be dynamically updated based on the interaction from the server. So that is what single web page applications are. Angular is a framework, or one of the frameworks designed to build such applications. Angular provides tools, API, libraries to simplify the development process of an application or the development workflow. API simply means application programming interface. It is a way for two software to communicate, a way for an application to interact with other applications. So that is the basic definition of what API is. Then libraries, on the other hand, libraries is close to framework under the general usage. So library is close to framework, but there is a difference between them. So let's look at what is the difference between library and framework. A library is a collection of code that you can call upon to help solve specific problems. So essentially, a library is a set of code that you can reuse in your application development. Now, what is a framework? A framework also provides pre-written code, but the big difference is that a framework defines the structure of the application. So using library, you are adding the library to your already created structure. But with framework comes with a structure. So all your code that you'll be writing is going to be in between that structure. So that is the difference between a library and a framework. Now let's discuss what are the features of Angular framework. Angular framework has core features. The first one on my list here is component-based model. So Angular is based on components. The user interfaces that you'll be building in Angular with Angular are composed of components. So it is safe to say everything in Angular is component. So you build components, and these components are presented and rendered to your user. So that is the base, that is the model, that is one of the model of the core model of Angular UI. Then second is Angular reactive model. So Angular is used to build reactive application. A reactive application is an application that is designed to respond to event and data change. So an application that is reactive is in real time updates its content based on data change and events. So Angular has the built-in feature to handle these kind of thing. Next is SSR. SSR means server-side rendering support. Angular supports the server-side rendering, which improves performance and also search engine optimization. So with server-side rendering, your application could be rendered on server and rehydrated on the client side. Don't worry too much about all of these. We are going to get deeper into some of these things as we progress in the course. Next is Angular as inbuilt modules. Angular comes with a set of modules that is traditional to how web work. What do I mean by that? Typically while building web application, you interact with external server to get data. You move from one page to another, which is called routing. So Angular has inbuilt features for routing, which is to move user from one page to another. Angular has a way for you to interact with external server, and Angular also comes with a full functional way of handling form along with other stuff. So Angular has this built-in module that handles the core part of web application development. So these are the core features of Angular. And lastly, development tools. As a developer, you will find this very useful, which simplifies the development process of an Angular-based application. So Angular comes with something called Angular CLI. So what CLI means is command line interface. So this tool allows you to run some commands, and this command will generate an output based on the functionality that the command is designed to handle. We are going to see all of this in usage as we progress in this course. Then number 2, Angular has DevTools. So this DevTool allows you to debug your Angular application interactively. You are able to see and view your components right from the browser, which makes everything more readable when debugging your Angular application. So that is about that in this video. We have talked about what Angular is as a framework. We have also discussed what the core features of Angular, and lastly we've discussed the development tools that we have available in this course in Angular. So if you have any question, feel free to drop them and I'll be glad to guide you further. See you in the next video where I discuss how to set up an Angular development environment on our system.